Hello, everybody. Welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. My name is Joelle Farley. I am a part of the business solutions team here at Rackspace, and if you've seen Power Hour before, you've probably seen our faces. Laura is usually the one who does the introductions and everything, but she is actually out of office today, so we are just going to do a kind of a shorter skeleton crew Power Hour today. Ryan is going to be presenting in a few seconds, so I'll let him introduce himself before he does that. And so, just so you guys know, if you are watching this for the first time or you've not seen a Power Hour live before, you can actually submit questions using the Q&A tool either on the YouTube video or on Google Plus if you're watching from there. And I will be monitoring the questions, so you can put those in, and as Ryan's going through, I can interrupt and bring those up. If you have questions that don't relate to what Ryan is talking about, still feel free to put those out there. We can cover those at the end. It may give us idea for future Power Hours, or it's something that we could cover in a future session. So definitely still do that. We'll be happy to take a look at those. So as I mentioned, I'm Joelle Farley. I am a consultant on the business solutions team. I specialize a lot in information architecture, taxonomy. I do a lot with search and workflows and forms and a lot of the out-of-the-box solutions that you have inside of SharePoint. And I am based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Where it is nice and sunny and warm finally this week. And I have worked with SharePoint for about 6 or 7 years now. But yeah, so Kevin, do you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll let Ryan jump right in?
Hi, my name is Kevin Hughes. I'm a SharePoint architect here at Rackspace. I'm based out of Kansas City, and my role on the team is basically to interact with our customers, determine what their business needs are, and see if we can't solve those in SharePoint. And been working with SharePoint exclusively as a platform since 2007, but been around in IT for longer than most of the team has been alive. So anyway, yeah, that's me.
Alrighty. All right, Ryan, you go ahead and jump right in.
Alrighty. Hi, everybody. I am Ryan Keller. I am the branding guy on the SharePoint team here at Rackspace, and my role, as it might be implied, is to brand SharePoint most of the time. Today, let me figure out how to start sharing my screen here. Today we're going to be talking about publishing. One second, as soon as I get this share thing figured out here. Let's do this. Okay, is that coming through for everybody?
Yep, we can see it.
Publishing sites, awesome. All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Publishing sites, kind of what they are, kind of a little walkthrough of them, some of the things that they bring to the table that you don't get. Excuse me, I'm fighting a little bit of a cold here. You don't get with team sites. So we'll kind of be doing a comparison of publishing and team by and large in this. So who am I? I said I'm Ryan Keller. One of these days I might have to take a new picture. That is going on about 5 years and 20 pounds ago. Been with Rackspace since 2012. Been a consultant for SharePoint since 2009. I was with the SharePoint 911 consulting group prior to the acquisition by Rackspace. I have been, like Kevin, been working with SharePoint since 2007, the year, and I started with 2003, the version. Bad times all around with that. If anyone has any 2003 sites left in the world, I feel bad for them. Fortunately, that was 10 years ago, and hopefully the world has moved on since then. But my role as a SharePoint branding guy, I have been doing that since, I guess, for about the last 4 years or so. So I've been working with SharePoint and doing branding almost too long to actually remember when I started, so I guess that's a good thing. A little more, where'd it go? There we go. A little more about who I am, my background. I had the opportunity to do some contributing to some popular SharePoint publications, the 2010 and 2013 versions of the SharePoint administration book, and also wrote about 2.5 chapters of the SharePoint 2013 branding and UI design, and also did some technical editing for for that SharePoint 2013 branding book, and some SharePoint 2010 branding and UI and SharePoint Designer. So had a good time doing that. So if you haven't checked out those books, you should. All right, let's enough about me. Let's get into this. We're getting all formal with the PowerPoint today, so that's always fun. So just real quick, what we're gonna kind of go over today, just what is publishing, the features of publishing. We'll kind of look at some before and after of what happens on your sites when the publishing features are enabled. Specifically, if you're starting with a team site and you decide maybe publishing would have been a better option, we'll look at how to turn your team site into a publishing site and what actually happens behind the scenes there. And again, publishing site versus a team site, what are some of the differences, and publishing and how it relates excuse me, to branding. So, what is publishing? So it can refer to a couple of different things. It can refer to the type of SharePoint site template you pick when you're creating a site. So if someone says, I want a publishing site, you can create a publishing site as your root site when you're creating a new site collection, or you can create a sub-site using the publishing site template. So that's one example of what is publishing when people say publishing in relation to SharePoint. Or maybe they're talking about the set of SharePoint features, the publishing features that make up a publishing site. In that case, features, I'm sure most people know. In case you don't, features are just options in SharePoint that enable or disable certain bits of functionality on the site. Publishing as a not so much as a feature, but publishing has been around since SharePoint 2007, but really hit its stride. And the implementation of how we think about publishing sites has been around since SharePoint 2010. Publishing features are made up of two separate features, the site collection feature and a site feature. We'll get into that in a little bit. So the SharePoint publishing infrastructure, that is the main publishing feature. That's probably the most important one. It kind of lays the groundwork for a publishing site. So again, that is a site collection feature that you would have to enable at the root level. It lays out the content types that publishing takes advantage of. It provisions the page layouts to your master page gallery that ultimately publishing would use if you actually turned your site into a full-fledged publishing site. If you look at your master page gallery as a team site versus as a publishing site, you'll notice that you get a great deal number of files added to that. In a team site, I think you have something like 17 or 18 files in your master page gallery. Once you activate your publishing, you end up with like close to 30, I think. And probably the biggest benefit that a lot of people see with using the publishing infrastructure feature is some navigation changes compared to your team site. Your team site, you have, when we'll look at this again in a little bit once we're done PowerPointing. But in a team site scenario, you have two links for managing your navigation. In a publishing scenario, you have one link and a much nicer interface and more flexibility for managing that. Finally, we get to the SharePoint Server publishing feature. That is the site feature that actually provisions the libraries that a publishing site ends up using. So is it possible to use one without the other? Yes, you can use the publishing infrastructure without the SharePoint Server publishing feature to get some of those benefits that we're talking about, kind of like the navigation. You cannot use the SharePoint Server publishing feature without first having enabled the infrastructure feature. SharePoint's going to yell at you for that. It's one of those dependent features. Okay, so just real quick, this is probably pretty basic stuff for most people watching, but just as a general overview, team sites or publishing sites, when would you pick one over the other? Team sites, generally speaking, are probably the most commonly used SharePoint template that there is, most commonly used SharePoint site. It's used for collaboration. That's basically its whole point, one of the whole major reasons that people adopt SharePoint in the first place. It comes with more default lists and libraries, typically has more contributors than a publishing site. Now, once we get to a publishing site, it's more for content consumption, maybe a information intranet or a public-facing internet site. A lot less collaboration going on in publishing scenarios typically, and generally we'll also have fewer people contributing to the site. Maybe a handful of people throughout the organization responsible for various areas, but as opposed to a team site where you might have lots of people uploading lots of content to a document library or working on a team site in collaboration. It also doesn't have a lot of the default social features that team sites come with. Again, because they more would be used for content consumption or just pushing information out to an audience. Alrighty, publishing before and after. So what changes? What differences are there in a team site versus a publishing site once you start enabling and disabling certain features? So your site settings, your options change. You get different options that might change slightly. Options disappear. Other options might appear. I'll take a look at some examples of that in a bit. Your site contents. On that page, you'll notice a lot of new lists and libraries, or different lists and libraries between the two types of sites. And in the ribbon, some new options and some new tabs start showing up. And some other stuff that publishing brings to the table. You get the Design Manager, new to 2013, lets you kind of take your HTML, static HTML page that you've built, run it through SharePoint, and have it spit out a master page. Sounds good in theory. There's quite a bit of work that needs to be done after the fact to actually make it a functional SharePoint master page. But at least, unless you've completely screwed up your HTML, things should actually render in SharePoint. Maybe in a future Power Hour we'll take a look at the Design Manager, kind of see how that looks. But that's a story for another time. Maybe we'll take a look at it at the end of this, just to kind of click through and see what it is. The other things you get, image renditions and device channels. Those are also new to 2013. Image renditions let you specify kind of image templates that let you, if Sally from HR uploads a 4 megabyte pixel from the company party to the site, and it takes 20 years to download, every time the page is loaded, you can apply an image rendition to that would shrink the page down, or shrink the image down, load a physically smaller version of that would take a lot less time to load. And a device channels, kind of another new feature, like I said, in 2013, that lets you specify various rules for browsers or devices that might access your site. You can apply different master pages to that, to your site based on the device that is accessing it. So it's kind of like responsive design and media queries in CSS, but not quite. You also get cross-site publishing, which again is a topic for another day. But if you are looking to author content in one site and have it appear in another site, you're going to need publishing. Okay, so before and after. So here is a team site settings page. Let's pretend that we've gone through and clicked the publishing infrastructure feature, activated the features on that. Here's what we get. You notice the look and feel in particular starts expanding. We get some more options in the site collection administration. The site actions looks a little bit different. And if we went ahead and turned this into a full-fledged publishing site, look and feel is rather gigantic now. Site actions only has 3 options. Under Web Designer Galleries, Master Pages, the Master Pages option has and page layouts tacked onto the end of it, because all of a sudden, now that you're in a publishing scenario, page layouts become an option to use. All right, let's look at these a little bit closer here. You can see in the team site look and feel, We have quick launch and top link bar. Those are a couple of different ways of managing your navigation. Once we activate the publishing infrastructure feature, those options go away and we get a new option for navigation. And we'll take a look at that, I think, in the demo at the end of the slideshow here, just to kind of show you what the difference is between those. But essentially, that is, that's kind of worth its weight in gold for a lot of people, being able to manage the navigation in a more flexible and robust way than what you get on a regular team site. So once we activate the publishing site feature, and now we're going full on publishing, we get one of the other useful links under look and feel, and that is the master page. That actually gives you the option to apply the master page right from the SharePoint UI. So if you've got some custom branding, or if you want to switch things up, for your look and feel, that is going to be your friend. Setting the master page through the UI is very nice. If you've done any kind of branding on a pure team site, you know what a pain it is to have to open up every single subsite in SharePoint Designer, right-click on your custom master page, set it as the custom, set it as the default master, wash, rinse, and repeat. That's becomes a giant pain unless you actually build a solution package and deploy your branding that way. Applying branding on a team site is kind of a pain, whereas on a publishing site, if you want to set your custom master page and you don't have a solution package, that page is going to be your friend. We also get an option for the welcome page, which is just gives you a little UI page to set your welcome page or your home page for the site. You get the ability to pick your page layouts and your site templates, which we can also take a look at. Hope I remember all these things I'm saying we're going to look at. Alrighty, what else? The web designer gallery. So between the team site and the publishing infrastructure feature, they are basically identical. Once we add the publishing site feature in, you'll notice that the only thing that changes on there is that master pages gets the words end page layouts tacked onto the end of it. It takes you to the same place, but it just makes it a little bit more obvious that there might be page layouts for you to play around with. Technically, those page layouts actually get added when you add the publishing infrastructure feature, but you can't really do anything with them until you activate the site feature, the publishing site feature, to provision the libraries that those layouts are going to use. Site actions shrinks up quite a bit the more publishy you make your site. The biggest change here is under team site, you'll notice that you get the ability to save the site as a template. As soon as you start adding publishing to your site, that option goes away. The reason being that you really can't make a template out of a publishing site. We were kind of joking about this before the broadcast started, but the answer when people say, "Can I make a template out of my publishing site?" the answer pretty much is no, and it's basically due to the way that SharePoint handles publishing pages or your page layouts as opposed to how it handles your team site or your wiki pages. That's really the biggest difference in the fact that it's using a lot of different content types and all kinds of technical gobbledygook, which we don't need to get into right now. Alrighty. So what other stuff changes? The site administration category, you'll notice, got pretty gigantic the more publishing features that we added. The site content and structure option appears. The site collection administration also gets pretty gigantic, and you get a different set of options based on the various features that are active or not. Like I said, team sites come with their own preset bunch of features enabled versus a publishing site. So you'll see different options on there depending if you start with a publishing site template, start with a team site template, or turn a team site template into a publishing site. So there's just a lot of different things we can do there. All right, so let's take a look at the site contents. So when you click your little settings gear and go to site contents on a publishing site, this is what you see. You see your pages library, and you'll see your site collection documents, an images library, documents library. So some of these things are going to be the same between team sites and publishing sites. Now let's just take a look at regular old team site. Just a handful of things there. Start adding publishing infrastructure, you can kind of see some of the stuff that all of a sudden is new. We get a content and structure report list. We get a site collection documents library, site collection images library. Some workflow starts creeping into there. Reusable content is another list that starts showing up. Now, once we've gone full on publishing and activated both publishing features, then we get the pages library where all the magic happens, and we get the images library, probably the two biggest changes there. All right, now in the interface, when you're actually using your site, let's take a look at the ribbon. So on the top, we've got a team site ribbon. Everyone's probably pretty familiar with that now. In the middle there, we have the publishing infrastructure. We got a team site, we've activated publishing infrastructure. Everything is completely identical except, oh look, another giant benefit of publishing. There is the spell check. Kind of interesting that it doesn't start showing up until we actually get into a publishing scenario. And finally, excuse me, on the bottom there, full-on publishing site, it's identical except it's removed the text layout option, and there's a good reason for that. And that is because we have gone into using page layouts. Now, let's take a look at the features really quickly that get activated or that are activated by default on a publishing site versus a team site. So, in the site collection features, on a publishing site, the only difference between the two, the only features that are active that are not active on a team site are the publishing approval workflow, which lets you schedule your pages to be published or turns on publishing approval. Obviously, the publishing infrastructure and also some workflows. Now, on a site collection features on a team site, we have a few other options that are more geared toward the collaboration that team sites typically use. We've got library and folder-based retention, some enterprise site collection features, standard site collection features, site policies for document retention, good stuff like that, and a 3-state workflow. So those are all features that are active only on a team site and not on a publishing site. So the enterprise and the standards include stuff like different search options, stuff that may not really apply in a publishing scenario. If you're looking to do pure publishing, like an internet site, a public-facing internet site, some of these things you might not need or might not want. Now, once we get into the team publishing versus team SharePoint features on the site level, not the site collection, but the site level, the only site feature that is active that's different on a publishing site versus a team site is metadata navigation and filtering. So that just gives us more options for doing navigation based on metadata. And site features on the team site, you can see there's a lot of search stuff. There's that good old getting started tile block there. We've got wiki homepage, team collaboration lists, which actually is pretty handy, and in a lot of cases people end up activating that feature on a publishing site to be able to get access to some of those team lists like a calendar or announcements that aren't active by default on a publishing site. Alrighty, now how does publishing relate to branding? If you are doing any kind of SharePoint branding, publishing is probably going to be your friend. At least it is to me. It's kind of my bread and butter. Publishing sites provide you a lot more flexibility when you are doing branding. Like we talked about earlier, it's a lot easier to set your master page right from the SharePoint UI if you're not using a WSP or a SharePoint solution package. And you get custom page layouts. That's probably one of the biggest benefits of using a publishing site in a custom branding scenario. Page layouts really let you kind of go hog wild with your branding, almost even more so than the master page, because there's a lot of different things that you can override on your branding in a page layout. So another big benefit is you can specify the available page layouts and site templates, which is kind of useful for creating. Yep.
Sorry, Ryan. Yeah, we have two different questions. I think one I'll save to the end because it's related more to just overall branding questions. So I'll save that to the end. Dan, that was one of your questions. And then also he had another one. So could you explain the difference between the pages and site pages library and why you would want to put pages in one library versus the other?
You bet. Yeah, so just in a nutshell, and we can take a look at this once I actually start clicking around in a real SharePoint site and stop boring everyone with my PowerPoint here. But the site pages library is used in your team site. Once you start getting into publishing, the pages library is where all of your publishing pages are stored. So in the site pages library is where all of your wiki pages for a team site are stored. Or your web part pages is another good one that usually would go into site pages. In the pages library, again, that's where your publishing pages will go. So any page that you create in SharePoint that's based on a page layout, like an article page or a welcome page, that's all going to go in the pages library. So that's basically the difference there. That the pages is specifically for publishing. The site pages is kind of more of a generic library that happens to store pages, and you can also put other documents in there. But the pages library is generally speaking reserved for your publishing stuff, your publishing pages.
Hey, Ryan, if I can maybe comment here.
Go for it.
A couple things to note there. The site pages library is a wiki library, so it operates just like any other wiki library with, wiki pages as the type of page that is created there. And so you have all the benefits and limitations of that in the site pages library, which you can change page layouts on the fly, and have half a dozen or so different out-of-the-box ways of changing your page layouts. And in the Pages library is a document library, so you can store practically any type of document or file in a document library. And the default page templates there are your article pages, which have predefined publishing types of layouts, and also enable you to do publishing scheduling on those, so that they are published on a schedule or unpublished and made available as needed, or part of workflows and that kind of thing. So those are the big differences in the locations.
Yes, very well said. Well, listen to Kevin. He knows what he's talking about. That's exactly it. Much more eloquent than I was trying to explain. Alrighty, where were we? Yes, the ability to specify your available page layouts and site templates. So your publishing site template, by default, when you want to create a new subsite, it basically limits you to only using publishing type sites, like another publishing site or a publishing site with workflow. If you're looking to do lots of scheduling or an enterprise wiki. If you want other sites, you're maybe making a company intranet and you're looking to use the publishing features for its robust capabilities, but you need some collaboration areas, you're not going to get the team site as an option by default unless you actually go in and tell your site that, hey, I want to use team sites or any template. It's easy to change. You can also specify which page layouts you would like to be available on any given site. So if you're trying to limit your content authors to only your custom page layouts or a certain 2 or 3 different page layouts to choose from rather than giving them options for everything, that's easy to do too. You can also, when you create a new page on a publishing site, you can tell it which page layout you want to be the default layout that is used anytime a new page is created. And real quick, text layouts and page layouts, kind of what Kevin was alluding to, being able to change stuff on the fly. So text layouts are your wiki page layouts. Your I guess probably the easiest way to explain this is to actually look at this. So on the left here, you get your text layout options on a team site. So in that site pages wiki library, any time that you create a page, you can pick one of those 8 options there: full page, column, 1 column, 2 column, 2 even columns, column with a header and footer. So you get lots of different options for organizing your content. Whereas with a page layout on a publishing site, it's kind of the same idea, but their use is maybe a little bit different. So where the wiki pages are a lot more for collaboration type scenarios and just being able to drop web parts onto any area of the page or type content easily, that's kind of the benefit of your wiki pages. Although if you watch this broadcast for any amount of time, we all know how Laura feels about wiki pages. But publishing pages brings kind of the same idea to the page, but the way that they're constructed are quite a bit different. They're all based on content types. The layouts and options are a little bit different, so they're kind of more like page templates, so you can create some consistency within your site by using, say, an image on the left for all of your article type options, or your welcome page gives you a certain set of zones. So each one of your home pages, if you have different departments and each department has a home page, it helps give you some consistency as you're building out your site. Just jump back one slide real quick and finish this guy up here. So your text layouts are predefined. You can't add or remove any of them, whereas page layouts are very flexible. They give you several out-of-the-box options to choose from. The idea behind a page layout is that each one, because they're based on content types, they are serving different types of content. So by default, we get article pages and welcome pages that you would typically use. Like a welcome page would typically be used for a home page on your site or a home page of a department site within your intranet. Whereas an article page, if you are writing, say, articles for your site, that's probably what you would want to use. So you have different applications and different purposes. Again, these are the screenshots of each. And getting into custom page layouts. If you're getting into any kind of branding, this is probably, again, one of the biggest publishing benefits, is being able to actually design how your content is going to be displayed, or create a new template, so to speak, for your designs. So you got pretty much unlimited flexibility in how you want it to lay out. So again, in a master page versus page layout scenario, the master page defines the overall structure of your site. It defines where the navigation is, where the header and the search box, and the left nav or quick launch, it'll hold your footer. And in the body area of your page, that's where the page layout sits. So you can have multiple columns. You can hide the navigation for a custom for a custom home page, for example, have a rotator on it. There's just a lot of different scenarios that you could use custom page layouts for in a custom branding scenario. For example, a custom home page, or unique department home pages, easy custom article layouts, yep. So another big benefit too is because they are based on content types, you can actually add metadata fields to your page to be able to tag them with certain items, or to apply metadata to your pages to allow them to appear elsewhere in roll-ups. For an example scenario, you can do all that with a page layout that you can't do in a team site using the wiki pages. So, not that wiki pages are necessarily bad, but there's just different. They're just different pages for different applications. Alrighty, moving on to publishing pages. Publishing your pages. So publishing kind of gives you an in-between step for your old content and your new content. So you kind of get, in a team site wiki page scenario, you click edit, make your changes, hit save, everyone can see them. You also do have the option to check out, prevent anyone else from actually seeing them and check them back in. But publishing kind of gives you an in-between. If you're working on some new content or refreshing the content of a page, and you need maybe somebody else to take a look at the page, you can start editing, make your changes, check the page in. Most people, unless they have options or permissions to see or edit that page, they're not going to be seeing that changed content. Then a coworker can go in there, make their changes to the content or review it, and then you can actually publish the page, and at that point your new content is available for everybody to see. The screenshots there give you an idea of the different options. So in a typical publishing site, the publishing tab in the ribbon is pretty boring. It gives you one lonely little button for publishing your site, publishing your page. In the bottom screenshot there, we can see the a publishing site with workflow turned on. We've got submitting options, scheduling options. We can start a workflow for the page, checking the status. So there's just a lot you can do with publishing workflows. Not too many people take advantage of that I have seen in my experience. Just because it does add a layer of complexity to just getting your content out there. But in a scenario where you would need to have a lot of review of content, or you need to specify when something should be published, that's definitely a very good option to look into. So should you use the publishing stuff in SharePoint? I say yes. A lot of people like the additional flexibility that the infrastructure feature, the publishing infrastructure provides, like the navigation and the spell check. A lot of other people prefer staying in the easy, pure collaboration nature of a team site. But a lot of our clients, especially once we get into some more custom branding, they like the flexibility of kind of a team with some publishing capabilities added in. So again, the team site you can start with and then add in the publishing infrastructure, which largely keeps your site as a team site, but gives you a couple of those nice little benefits, like being able to more robustly manage the navigation or giving you the spell check option, stuff like that. Alrighty, that's basically what we are going to go through now. On that note, let's go ahead and fire up my site and see if things are going to work for me today. All right. So we've got a good old plain publishing site here. Excuse me. So we'll take a look at the home page here really quick. A lot of these options they give you just to get started using a publishing site, setting permissions, using variations, which I think one person has probably ever used in the history of SharePoint. You can define your content types. A lot of these links that they give you are probably a lot more than you're going to need to do right off the bat. But configuring your navigation, you can configure additional site content that just links you to your site contents page. Setting up search, importing design packages, configure image renditions, designing your site. That just gives you the ability to go through the design manager feature, and like we were talking about here, choosing the availability of your site templates. All these options actually appear in your site settings. They just give you kind of a handy watered down version of this right on your home page as you get started. But let's take a look at a plain old team site. So team site, got your getting started navigation tiles there. Jump into site settings. By the way, if I had $1 for every time I clicked getting started instead of site settings, I would have lots of dollars. Fortunately, that's actually easy to get rid of and make your life a little bit less annoying. That's just a nice little feature that you can disable and make that guy go away there. Excuse me. So if we flip back and forth between these real quick, you can kind of see what we were looking at in the PowerPoint, the differences in what options you get. So let's take a look at navigation real quick. Top link bar. On my team site here, I just get the ability to add some links. Pretty easy. I can change the order of them. Well, I guess that's it. So there we go. You can use the little edit link button at the top there to kind of drag and drop and reorder stuff as you see fit. Save that. All right. Oh, there was a problem. Some of my changes may not have been. Oh, goody. All right. Well, that was fun. Anyhow, the quick launch, same idea here. Gives you the ability. This is a little bit more robust so that you can actually add headings to separate some of your content out. But if we take a look at our publishing site over here, our friend the navigation link. Waiting. There we go. All right, you can see right off the bat there is a lot more going on for managing your navigation. So we've got global navigation settings. We've got current navigation settings or quick launch navigation settings. By default, SharePoint publishing sites use the metadata navigation. It's driven by the managed metadata term sets, which are very powerful, and if you're just using them to set up a basic navigation, pretty easy to work with. Again, you could just use your edit links here, add a link. This is my publishing link. All right, save that. Then I've got a link right up top. So that's nice and easy to work with there. If you start getting into more complex navigation scenarios, like using your navigation for filtering content on your site, the metadata navigation, while very powerful, also is a lot more difficult to set up and manage. So they also give you the option to use structural navigation, which is the exact same navigation that was in SharePoint 2007 and 2010, and is managed just a little bit differently than managed metadata navigation. So right off the bat, if you select structural navigation, we get some options of what we want to show by default. So by default, it gives us the option to show subsites. So as we're creating subsites underneath our root site here, they'll just automatically start populating the navigation area up top. Same with the current navigation. If we wanted to, if we were going to make a small internet site, we could turn on the option to just show pages as opposed to the subsites. But that sometimes can fill up your navigation pretty quickly. Coming on down here for structural navigation, you can see we've got a little tool pane here that lets us add headings and links to the various areas of the navigation. So if I wanted to add something to the global navigation, I'll just add a heading real quick. This option here is a lot of the reason that people in team sites who want more robust navigation turn on that publishing infrastructure feature, because with this you actually get the ability to add drop downs to your navigation, which we know everybody loves drop downs and everyone wants their links in the drop downs, and we don't want 47 links spanning the top of your team site there. So drop downs provide a nice way of organizing. So if I add another heading can make those headings links if we wanted to, or we can just leave them empty and they'll just be a text header. And as soon as we click on OK, now we've got our heading and our drop down here. So right there is a big reason, like I said, that people in team site scenarios often find themselves wanting to take advantage of that publishing infrastructure feature. And moving on down the line here, master page. We talked about this a little bit, but this is where we can actually specify what master page we want our site to use. So if we have custom branding, we've got our custom master page in as listed as an option here to pick from, and we can apply the master page. And I don't have any subsites created under this this publishing site here, but if I did, there would be an option right below to reset all the sites below this to inherit the master page from its parent, so I could really quickly go through and apply the same master page throughout the entire site. Again, that's one thing that's only available on pure publishing sites, but in a lot of other cases we've seen clients have used a publishing site as their root site collection and then do all their collaboration on team subsites. Because the root site is a publishing site, we still get the ability to push that master page down to all the team sites below, which really makes it nice and easy to apply your branding that way. We can also do the same thing with themes. We can inherit themes. We can set alternate CSS to override some of the out-of-the-box CSS if it's not called directly in your custom master page. So let me just switch this master page real quick. Just click a few buttons, and all of a sudden my publishing site is now using the Oslo master page, which one odd thing you will probably notice is that, very obvious here, but on the Oslo master page, the current navigation becomes your top navigation, and anything that was in your top navigation disappears. And I still scratch my head every time somebody mentions that and wonder what in the heck Microsoft was thinking in that case. Because of that, I'm going to switch it back to good old Seattle. And that way I won't have to worry about wondering why on earth Oslo behaves the way it does. All right, what else? We talked about the design manager. Like I said, again, this is a new feature in 2013 that lets you run your own HTML through SharePoint and spit out a master page, or you can start with a minimal master page that SharePoint gives you. I don't recommend that approach so much as using starter master pages you can get on Codeplex. They're a lot easier to work with. They're all commented and nicer to just start with. I think did a power hour a few months back that talks about starting your branding. So if you want to get started on doing some 2013 branding, definitely check that out. But as you're going through the design manager, there's definitely some options in here that I'm not sure why they ordered them the way that they did. But the first thing they want you to set up, well, I guess the very first thing they give you the option to is to import a design package that maybe you've already built on a development site, or you can pick a pre-installed look, which actually just takes you straight to the new 2013 themes. But we're not going to get into that right now. It's not until probably number 3 that we actually start getting into what the design manager is very useful for. But the second option here is it gives you the option to start creating device channels in case you're going to set up some rules for the various devices that are accessing your site. We're not going to get into that today. Just going to go through some of these options really quick just to kind of explain design manager on a very high level. So right on number 3 here, we get a URL that lets us actually open the master page gallery in Windows Explorer. So if I copy that, I can actually open up, and 1 second, let me open my, there we go. Open up a Windows Explorer window. I'm going to map a network drive. Bring that guy over here. I'm going to paste that URL right in here. Connect using different credentials. And there we go. I have got my master page gallery opened up in Windows Explorer, which, using the design manager, at this point, I would drag in any HTML files that I built that I want to convert to a master page, and then move on to step 4, which would then actually convert my HTML file to a master page. All right, number 5, editing display templates. These are HTML files that are used in roll-up scenarios. Excuse me. So we're not gonna spend any time on that today, but this is, display templates in a nutshell are how some of the search-driven content, or how all the search-driven content is displayed based on, what type of file it is, based on your queries. So you can create all kinds of custom display templates, and it's lots of fun. Number 6 is where you actually get into editing your page layouts. You can create custom page layouts right from Design Manager. But again, if you have an HTML file already built for a page layout, you could drag it into your master page gallery through Windows Explorer, and it would convert it. Finally, once you're done playing with all that, I also should point out on the edit master pages and edit page layouts, once the files are uploaded, you would actually want to click on them, and you would actually start using the snippet gallery to add things like the SharePoint search box, various SharePoint functionality to your master page. It's not going to be in your HTML template. Then you would apply your design, and then you could actually save your designs as, this will actually package everything up as a WSP. It kind of works, but it also includes a lot of extra stuff that you might not want. If you played with themes at all, if you applied any of the composed looks to your site, it's going to just grab all kinds of stuff, and you're going to end up with a gigantic amount of files that a WSP deploys. Whereas if you're doing a custom solution package yourself, it's definitely going to be a little bit cleaner. Let's see. It's actually this hour went a lot faster than I expected it to. Let's see if there's anything that I wanted to cover here. I guess let's take a look at some of the editing differences. So if I edit this home page here.
And we do have one question, if you want to say like a minute or two at the end. I don't know. It's not related directly to this. Basically, Dan is asking that he would like to hear your perspective on the recent guidance from Microsoft of branding SharePoint without custom master pages, where they're saying to favor themes and using the app model instead.
Yeah, I think that's probably a little bit more geared toward Office 365, which is kind of a pain to do branding for, because you don't get the ability to upload WSPs. I haven't looked too much into the process of doing branding through the app model, and focusing on themes. But the theming engine, they've actually added some nice stuff to. If we go into change the look, they've added some nice options to 365 that we don't get in the on-prem version of 2013. So I think they're kind of pushing that a little bit more, just because it's easier to apply a pretty customized look. They are making some changes to how some of those things are applied in 365 versus on-prem, and I expect probably by the time the next version rolls around, it'll probably be kind of the same idea. But I think a lot of the guidance for that is just because, in the past, if you wanted to deploy branding, the best practice always said to use a solution package that would push all your changes out. But in 365, we don't have access to that, and I think that's actually a lot of why they're recommending going the compose look route. So I hope, and there we go. So hope that helps answer that a little bit. But if we take a look really quick at the difference between editing publishing page versus editing a team site page. If I just jump over here, click edit. So the idea is largely the same here. We've got web parts in the various little text zones that we get in our text layout here, but if I wanted to change the layout here on my publishing page, I could just click text layout, switch the layout. All of a sudden I've got another zone down here to add stuff, and it just kind of plops those additional areas in. Publishing sites, let's close that. Publishing sites are just a little bit different. We still get zones, but these are more specifically web part zones that aren't necessarily for clicking and typing. That's what this page content area is here, and this is where the idea of the content types plays into publishing page layouts. So on the Format Text tab, I don't have any options for changing this layout. That's because on a publishing page, that option is actually underneath the Page tab. So right now, this is a blank web part page. It's a welcome page. And if I go ahead and change this to, say, a summary links welcome page layout, we're going to see things shift just a little bit. So we've got the option to put an image next to our page content here. These again are coming from content types. So we've got a page image column in our pages library, a page content column in our pages library, and now we've also got some summary links that are built into the page. If we really quickly, I know we're running out of time here, but if I open up my pages library and look at the library tab and the library settings, we can see that we have several different content types that are applied to this library. And in those content types, there are several different, lots and lots of different columns. So we've got that page content column, that page image. We've got the summary links, both of those summary links columns there. So when you add them to a page, they kind of become fields. Open back up our default page here and click on edit. So you can see we got the page content field and the page image field. Again, they're nothing more than site columns that become fields. This is like a rich publishing field. And we've added them to SharePoint, added them to a page layout that lets us type right on the page there. If we wanted to create our own custom page layout, we would base our custom layout on one of the out-of-the-box content types, typically an article or a welcome. Or if we really were inclined, we could create a custom content type and add additional fields. Right now we've got the title field that appears in edit mode that disappears once we save the page. But we could add additional metadata to our page. And a good example of that is actually in the article page. If we do, say, image on left, if we change this layout to use the image on left, we get a couple of different fields and a couple of different bits of metadata that are included on the page. So like Kevin said earlier, a pages library is a document library. And because it's a library in SharePoint, anything that's in that page can be tagged with metadata, and publishing pages are no different. They get an article date and a byline. This is all just out of the box. And when we're in edit mode, we can actually, instead of editing the properties of the document from the library, we can edit the properties of this page or this document right on the page itself. So if I wanted to do, today's date, what is today's date? The 18th. By me, we could obviously insert a picture from SharePoint. Gives you the ability to browse. I'm sure everybody has seen this sort of stuff before, but it's like collection images. Do they give us any images? Yeah, they do. Happy people. So that's there's an option right there for working with your publishing pages and some of the different metadata options that show up there and how that could be useful. Really quick, I guess we could take a look at image renditions. Do I have? I don't think I've got image renditions actually configured on this. Good one. Never mind. I guess we won't look at image renditions this time, especially since it is actually a little bit over time anyway. But hopefully that gave you kind of a good overview on what publishing brings to the table versus a team site, and if there's anything that we didn't cover or that you wished I went into more detail or even less detail on, definitely leave comments on the YouTube page or wherever you want to leave those. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, I think. Maybe that stopped. I don't know. Did that stop sharing my screen? And I guess with that, that's about it. So hopefully that was a little bit informative and not too boring. But if you needed help falling asleep, maybe that was your cup of tea there. So that's all I've got today.
All right, thanks so much, Ryan. I really appreciate that. And definitely, if you guys have any additional questions on any of that information, feel free to post that in the comments on YouTube, and we'll be able to see that as well. And I'm not sure. Do you guys know what we have going on next week? I don't have it pulled up, but
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure we'll think of something.
Yeah, we'll have something out there. So just check our Google Plus page and Laura's Twitter at WonderLaura. You can get a lot of the updates happen there as well, since she has quite a few followers. So you guys can get that information there. And we'll see you next week. So thanks so much again, Ryan, and have a good one.
All right. Thanks. See you, everybody.